Your door has no sound control, not a little bit, none. And that is the wording used by National Guard Products, the company that makes the door seals and thresholds for schools and hospitals, about any door with nothing sealing the edges. On the scale the trade uses, a door like that comes in at 15 to 20. Seal the same door and it reads 28 to 30. The sealing costs $20. Zero International has been making door seals since 1924, and their brochure prints what each band on that scale sounds like from the other side. At 25 to 30, normal speech comes through easily and clearly. At 35 to 40, loud speech still comes through, but you can't tell what's being said. That second band is the one I aim at on any interior door, so the $20 comes first. Then the 7 other things on this door that decide whether your $20 did anything, and one of them cost nothing at all. Number 1. The strip around the frame, $5, a roll of self-adhesive foam weather strip from the hardware shop. Get the thin, squishy sort, not a fat rubber tube. A fat one stops the door closing. I've peeled one off and started over. Zero's brochure says 1/8 of an inch of clearance around the edges takes a door rated 52 down to 21. I go round a door with a torch before I spend anything on it. The adhesive gets blamed for everything, and the adhesive is fine. It sticks beautifully to the layer of grime on your frame, and the grime isn't stuck to anything. Wipe it, let it dry, then apply. Buy white too. The black reads as damage and comes off again inside the month. Zero's other rule is that the seals have to be complete, uninterrupted and airtight, all on the same side of the door and the frame. Most doors don't have the same gap the whole way round, so one thickness of strip either won't reach the wide part or won't let the door shut on the tight part. There's a trick for that. Wrap the face of the door in cling film, run a fat bead of clear paintable caulk down the frame, and close the door until it just latches. Leave it overnight, then peel the film off. You've got a gasket molded to your door and nobody else's. First time I watched that done, I assumed it was a gimmick. Sides and top, done. Now the bottom, which is number 2, because that's where most of it is getting out. There's a gap down there, usually about 1/2 inch, with nothing in it. The slide-on U-shaped underdoor seal is a channel that grips the bottom edge of the door with a rubber fin down each side. Cut it with scissors, push it on. No screws, no drill, about $15 and less if you shop around. Mark it long and cut twice. I've trimmed one short and you can't put it back on. Some doors have a far bigger gap than that, and mobile homes are the worst for it. Nothing that slides on is going to span a couple of inches. That one wants the timber trick coming up, because it gets built to whatever gap you've actually got. I'd choose the slide-on over a screw-on sweep, and it has nothing to do with the price. It lifts straight off the door whenever you want, and there's a house where that's going to matter a great deal. If you're renting, it's your answer for a different reason. It comes off and goes in the box when you move. The foam round the frame peels away, and the adhesive left behind wipes off with a rag. 5 on the frame, 15 on the bottom. That's the $20. Before you make either permanent, go and look at the vents in that bedroom. Number 3 is the catch. I'll argue about most things on this list, not this one. In a lot of houses, every room gets a vent blowing air in, and the only route back to the furnace is under the door to the hallway return grill. Building Science Corporation, a building research firm in the States, publishes a sheet on this. Their wording, undercutting bedroom doors doesn't provide enough airflow, and there's often a pressure imbalance that leaves the room positively pressured. You feel it as a door pushing back when the blower runs, and a room warm by August. So look for a second big vent, one pulling air out. If it's there, seal the bottom permanently. If it isn't, that's why I put you on the slide-on. On at 10 at night, off in the morning. Want it permanent? A heating installer can run a lined transfer grill through to the hallway. Unlined, it just hands the sound a new door. And one place you never do any of this is a room or cupboard with a gas appliance in it. A furnace, a water heater, a gas dryer. They pull air out of that space to burn it. Close it up and they can't. And what you get is carbon monoxide. No smell, no warning. Leave that door a gap. Same for a bathroom, where an extractor can't pull air out of a sealed room. What if the floor's carpeted? That's number 4, because everything so far is sitting on hard flooring. On carpet, the slide-on won't slide on, and if you force it, the fins either bury themselves in the pile or flatten it every time the door swings. Cheapest first, a weighted door snake laid against the bottom. Costs nothing to try, and you pick it up when you want the air back. Then there's the one somebody clearly worked out the hard way. Measure your bottom gap. Rip a length of timber to nearly that thickness and screw it flat to the bottom edge of the door, leaving roughly 1/8 of an inch of clearance to the carpet. Then run soft adhesive seal down both faces of that timber. You've built a bottom rail that fills the gap and still clears the floor. It's my favorite of the three, and it's the answer for those oversized gaps as well. If you're buying properly, get a drop-down automatic door bottom, which sits in a housing on the door, lifts clear when you open it, and drops onto the floor when you close it. I'd measure that gap twice before ordering one. National Guard's own fitting notes ask for a 1/4 inch drop for best results and 3/8 maximum, and past that the seal isn't reaching your floor, all of which assumes the door is hanging square in the first place. Number 5 costs nothing. Get somebody to stand out in the hall with a torch and run it slowly round the closed door while you watch from inside. Every place the light comes through is a place the sound comes through. And if one corner is tight while the opposite one glows at you, the door is hanging crooked, so no strip you buy is going to touch it. The thin piece of timber the door closes against is the door stop. On a lot of houses, it's nailed on separately, rather than milled into the frame, and a fingernail run along the joint tells you what you've got. If it's separate, work a thin blade behind it and prise it off. Close the door. Push the strip up tight against the face of the door, and set it so the latch just kisses the back of the strike plate with no load on it. Then nail it back. Go easy on that last bit. The first time I reset a stop, I put it back a shade too tight. The door wouldn't latch at all, and I had to pull the whole thing off again. Where the gap on the knob side or across the top is genuinely wide, glue a thin strip of timber behind it first. Get that sitting right and the door is finally closing onto something all the way round, which is when you find out that the frame it's closing onto isn't sealed either. Number 6. Take the trim off. Your door frame is a box that got shimmed into a rough hole in the wall, and there's a space all the way around it hidden behind the casing. On a lot of houses, that void is the largest unsealed area in the opening, and it's the one nobody ever looks at. Sometimes there's a wisp of loose fiberglass in there. I've pulled casings off doors where there was nothing at all. Get a thin pry bar and a scrap of wood to protect the wall, and take the casing off. Have a look. Then pack that void properly, either mineral wool pushed in tight or offcuts of timber and plasterboard cut to fit, and run a bead of acoustic caulk round the joint before the casing goes back. Packing and sealing are two different jobs. Fiber stuffed in loosely does neither, because air walks straight through it, and it's the caulk that closes the path. Zero's brochure has the figure for why that matters. A whole 1-inch square in 100 square feet of plasterboard can pass as much sound as the entire rest of the wall. Pack the void, and the frame stops leaking, which leaves the only holes in the whole assembly that somebody bored on purpose. The doorknob, number 7. There's a hole a couple of inches across straight through the slab for the latch, and that mechanism is mostly fresh air. Take the round plate off one face, make a cardboard template of it, cut a ring of thin closed cell foam to match, and refit the plate over the top of it. Do both sides. I wouldn't make a trip to the shops for this on its own. Once the perimeter is sealed, it's one of the few leaks left. Do all that and the opening's about as far as it goes. What's left is the thing hanging in it, which brings you to the door itself, number 8. A hollow core door is two thin skins with a cardboard honeycomb between them. A solid core one has wood right through and looks identical in the frame. You'll hear it costs about double. It doesn't. I priced the same maker, size, and panel style at a big box store. The solid slab was several times the price. Studio builders put it like this: a great wall with a poor door gives you a poor room. It caps whatever else you do and won't get you near that cap by itself. Don't fill a hollow one with expanding foam either. It bows the faces out permanently. Spending properly, what works is an adjustable perimeter gasket, an aluminium section with a silicone bulb you retension as the door settles. A studio fitting, and a set runs $500 to $600. One caution on an apartment corridor door. That's usually a rated fire door with a self-closer. The standard covering those doors doesn't set what you can fix to the face. It sends you to the door maker's listing, so the label on the door edge and your building manager settle it, not me. Foam on the frame is one thing, screwing a panel to the slab is another. That's the ceiling, which leaves the pile of things people buy instead of any of it. Number 9. What does nothing? Acoustic foam on the door. Those wedge panels absorb reflections inside the room they're stuck in. They don't block. I have never once seen foam on a door change what the person outside hears. Foam is a real product with a real use, and this isn't it. Blocking sound takes weight, which is the trouble with the thin soundproof door panel sold online. A panel that arrives in a light box hasn't got any weight in it. There's a genuine version, it's thick, and it's priced like it. Mass-loaded vinyl on the door face gets suggested constantly. It's heavy, which is the point of it, and that's also the problem. It isn't captive inside a wall, so it has to be fastened at a lot of points just to hold its own weight, on hinges that were never sized for it. On a wall, the stuff is worth the money. I wouldn't put it on an interior door. The blanket over the door does help, and not for the reason on the label. It's draping over your gaps rather than adding real mass, so once you've sealed the perimeter, it does far less than people expect. Same story with a white noise machine. It masks the sound for whoever is in the room with it, so if you're keeping your own noise in, that machine wants to be out in the hallway. You started where the seal maker's own catalog says there's no sound control at all. $20 puts you into the 20s, and the free ones on this list push you past that. Nobody who does this comes back and tells me it went silent. The word they use is muffled, and muffled is the win. It's the band where somebody outside knows you're in there talking and can't tell you one word of what was said, and that's the trade I'd take on any door in the house. One honest limit before you go. All of this is about speech, a television, a dog, a hallway. Sealing a door does very little about bass coming up through the floor, because low frequencies aren't leaking through your gap, they're moving the building. That's a floor and ceiling problem. Subscribe and I'll keep going through the rest of the house, one opening at a time.